The font that I am using for this tutorial is Philly Sans. You can download this font and the background image you see here in the YouTube description. First things first, select your text layer, and at the bottom of the Layers panel, click on the effects icon. Check Outer Shadow. Make sure the color is set to black. Set the blend mode to normal, bring the opacity up to 100%, set the radius to 10, leave the offset at 0, set the intensity to 95%, and set the angle to 90. Close this window, use the key command, Command or Control J, to duplicate the layer. Name this top copy Text Effect, and name this bottom copy Shadow. On the top text effect layer, click on its current layer effects to add some more styles. Check Gradient Overlay. Set the blend mode to normal. Open up the gradient and insert 2 more stops to create a 4-color gradient. Change the gradient colors to whatever you'd like. I'm going to pull up my swatches, and from left to right, I'm going to assign first a light purple, then a light blue, then a green, and finally a yellow. You can move the swatches to make them just about even. Now at the bottom, set the angle to 90. If you're not happy with how the gradient turned out, you can always go back and adjust the position or the color of the stops. So I'm going to grab this little line here and drag it to the left, and that's going to allow more yellow into the gradient. And same thing with the stop here to allow more purple to be seen in the gradient. Now check Color Overlay. Set the blend mode to Color Dodge. Set the opacity to 50% and set the color to 313131, which is a medium gray. Now check Inner Shadow. Set the blend mode to Color Dodge. Bring the opacity up to 100%, set the radius to 17 pixels, set the offset to 6 pixels, set the intensity to 80%. I'm changing my color to the hex code 009CFF, which is kind of a light blue, and I'm setting the angle to 0. Now we are going to add a second inner shadow, and you can add a second one by hitting this plus sign, and that's going to duplicate the inner shadow settings that we've already set up. So let's change the blend mode on this second inner shadow to normal, leave the opacity at 100%, bring the radius down to 10 pixels, leave the offset at 6 pixels, drop the intensity to 40%, change the color to white, and set the angle to 225 degrees. All right, and now we're going to add a third inner shadow. I promise you this is the last one, by hitting this plus sign again. Leave the blend mode at normal, leave the opacity at 100%, drop the radius to 5 pixels, leave the offset at 6 pixels, drop the intensity to 0, change the color to black, and change the angle to 45 degrees. Now check Bevel and Emboss. Change the bevel type to inner, unlink radius and depth, set the radius to 120, set the depth to 500, set the soften to 2.2, set the profile to this third option, set the azimuthal to 45, and the elevation to 25. Drop the highlight to 60%. For the shadow, let's change the color to another medium gray. I'm going with the hex number 565656. Bring the opacity up to 100% and change the blend mode to color burn. Close out of this window, and now let's focus on the shadow layer. Right-click on this layer and select Rasterize. Make sure that you uncheck Preserve Layer Effects and then hit Rasterize. Use the key command, Command or Control J, to duplicate this shadow. So these shadow layers are destructive, but the main text effect is not, meaning you can always go back and change the text here. Now we're going to add a motion blur to each of these layers, starting with this top shadow layer. Go to Pixel, Filters, Blur, Motion. Leave the rotation at 90 degrees and set this to 25 pixels and hit Apply. Now select the bottom shadow layer and again go to Pixel, Filter, blur, motion. This time, set the rotation to 135 degrees, and let's give it a blur radius of 20 pixels. Now select your text effect layer and your two shadow layers, and at the bottom of the layers panel, click the folder icon to group them. And now set the blend mode of the entire group to multiply, and that way you'll be able to see some of the texture of the bricks through the text effect. Now select the background layer, and at the bottom of the layers panel, click on this circle so that way we can add a new adjustment layer and select curves. Create an S-curve like this if you want to give the background just a little more contrast and darken it up a bit. Another font that goes great with this effect is called Blank River. This is a great supplementary font. I'm going to add that to the bottom, click on the effects icon, and add another outer shadow. I'm going to set the blend mode to normal, the opacity to 100%, the radius to 5.8, leave the offset at 0, the intensity to 40, and change the angle to 0. I'm going to hit Command J to duplicate this twice. And the two copies right below it, I am going to rasterize. Uncheck Preserve Layer Effects, hit rasterize, and again, I am going to add the same motion blur to each of these effects. Going to Pixel, Filters, Blur, Motion. We'll start with 20 pixels at 135 degrees, and then on the second copy, Pixel, Filters, Blur, Motion. Let's do 25 pixels at 90 degrees. And let's select this second text effect, put it in its own group, position it, and rotate it any way you want. And because this is pure black, changing the blend mode to multiply won't really do much, so we're just going to leave it at pass through. And there you have a graffiti text effect. Special shout out to Cagney Reese for suggesting this tutorial. I read all the comments on my YouTube videos and do my best to take requests for tutorials. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next week.